Good luck to us. A million times is a charm.
You have no idea how many
We're working it out.
What is this? Would you say take a million?
Yeah. Take 52 and action. Here. We made it. We're speaking good into the universe with our pal right here.
Yes. The power animal, baby goat. Presented by the one and only Lynn Russell.
Shout out to Lynn Russell. Good friend.
Oh my gosh.
What's the story behind this cute little goat?
Well, so if you know me, you know I love goats, and especially baby goats, because it's me.
What's not to love? It is. I see the resemblance in the best way possible.
So 1 year for my birthday, Lynn ordered a baby goat for me, and it came in a package at work, and I looked at the little box and I'm like, I don't ever get packages at work. This is weird. And I said, oh, the return sender, it said you've got mail. And Lynn goes, well, look at that again. And it said you've goat mail. And immediately I'm like, oh, you've goat mail. And then I opened it up and this precious little thing was inside the box. And literally, I was so happy that I cried. And she's got video of me sobbing and holding my little baby goat. So,
at any point, did it flash your mind like this could be a real goat? Is there a tiny baby goat in here? A real goat? I feel like that would cross my mind until logic set in. It couldn't be a goat. But he's joining us today.
Yes.
Giving us, good energy. Good
Bill.
vibes.
Bill the goat.
Bill the goat. Bill the goat.
Yes. Oh, you like what I did there?
I love it.
Oh my God.
Anyway.
If this does not record our soundtrack this time,
then I think we'll have to sleep and then come back refreshed another day.
Oh my God. Absolutely. Absolutely. So trying again. Hi.
Welcome back to the Zindan.
And I'm Camille Nelson, military medium, and
I am Lexi Althouse, here to join the fun.
Yeah. Hopefully to be daughter-in-law sometime.
Yes. We're gonna put this ring on this hand. Eventually.
Oh so we're happy you're here. So Lexi, what is in your cup?
My cup today, I have some fancy Flowing Well. That's what it's called. Flowing Well water from down the street.
Yep.
I was introduced to this really good spring water. Is that what it would be?
So what a coincidence, because I too.
Cheers. To healthier us.
Yep. It's water that comes from an artesian well.
And it tastes different and it's crisp.
It's good.
It's so good. And I look forward to drinking this every time I come over. And I've gotten my own water from Flowing Well before. But my jug bursts, like it cracked. So I haven't kept up with it. So this is top tier water right here.
Yeah, top tier.
Tier.
That's what my house is all about, top tier.
It is. I've taken so much of your guys' routines and rituals into my own life.
That's because
we are awesome and great creatures of habit. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. But we're talking all things military medium today, really diving into the military side of things, which pretty much all started since you were young, but your advancement when it comes to military kind of started when you were in Missouri, 20 years ago?
Right. So that pretty much the twilight tour for Eric. We were stationed in Kansas City, and I started working with a lot of Vietnam veterans, and we formed a group. I think I mentioned that in the last video, but there was a group of us, and we did all, just support. It was just there to support each other. Not that I'm a Vietnam veteran, but I just have a real soft spot for the
you have that respect and appreciation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I would do a newsletter, and we just, I don't know, knew each other online. A lot of these guys knew each other in person, but I would write for them all the time. So one of the things that there was one time that President Bush, W, W, he went to the wall on, I believe it was Memorial Day, and to pay his respects. And before that, the president before him also went to the wall to pay respects, but made a big deal out of it. And it was this big fanfare. All the media is there. And when W went, it was very quiet. It was very dignified. He treated our veterans with dignity and respect, which is how they should be treated.
Yeah. It wasn't for a show. It was
exactly.
It was special. It's like, it was real and intentional.
Yeah. And that's how you know that it's from the heart. And so my vet said, and it was raining that day. And the guys, Bill Wadella, he said, well, Camille, I think we should write a letter to the president. And I said, cool.
we should write a letter.
And I kept going, okay, you guys write a letter, and so what ends up happening is Bill said, we want you to write this letter for us, representing us and our group. And we were writing a letter to President Bush to say thank you for acting dignified about this. And but I said, no, that can't come from me. That's got to come from you guys. But I wrote a poem that went with it. And the poem was about President Bush going to the wall and thanking him for doing that. Wow. So there were probably 10 of us that signed this letter, and we got a response from the White House, stamped with President Bush's.
That's a keepsake.
And he actually mentioned, he thanked us, thanked them for their service, and thanked all of us for the letter, and actually mentioned my poem by name. So
wow,
that was kind of exciting. But
how many people were in the Simplify Vet group, and how did that come together? How did you join that group or gather them?
So the group was formed we were kind of a subgroup from Popasmoke. So Popasmoke is popasmoke.com, an amazing organization.
Okay.
Shout out to Slick. Hey, Slick.
How you doing, Slick?
Slick. Yeah, Slick is awesome. So Popasmoke is a wonderful resource for helicopter pilots, crew. And it was originally, I believe it was World War II, Korea, Vietnam, might have just been Vietnam. But it has opened to helicopters, and I don't know if it's fixed wings. Well, but anyway, so yeah, it was a big group. And then there were just probably 15 or 20 of us that communicated together all the time. Excuse me. So we just started our Simplified Vietnam Veterans.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I started writing for these guys, and I've written in,
and we're back. And see.
I have written an article, essay, whatever you call it. I wrote something called The Jacket, and the jacket is all about my dad's flight jacket, and how as a little girl, I still to this day, like as a little girl, when I would go hug daddy goodbye because he's going to work, he would wear his flight jacket. So it's about, how I felt the leather on my face, the cold leather, and the fur around the collar, and what his patches, on this jacket meant. And so I wrote this article called The Jacket, and the guys ate it up. They loved it, but because they all had kids,
and they probably had, if not the same, very similar wear and patches.
Yeah. And in fact, one of the members, Rick Hargraves, was also with the same squadron as my father. He was with HMM 265. So, yeah.
Do you still keep in touch with any of the guys?
Most of them have now passed away. So no, we've kind of I've lost touch. And I think there's a couple maybe that's still left, but we actually had Paul Moore, who was World War II Marine, Korea Marine, and Vietnam Marine.
Wow.
So
Very
lots
decorated.
of lots of history there. Great man. You guys, any Marines listening probably know Paul Moore, but yeah, we talked about him writing a book because he had a lot to say. But yeah, I mean, it was just fun. It was just fun.
I feel like I'm with a celebrity. Everybody
Yes,
encouraged
darling.
Camille to write a book
Yes, you are
about
the
her life,
celebrity.
first of all, and your work, and the people that have recognized your work.
Wow.
And speaking of
Such wonderful.
writings, you have several. How do you get inspired to write your poems?
Well, a lot of the writing um, usually happens after some big event.
Mhm.
Or trauma to our country or something like that. And so right around the time, probably would have been around 9/11 time, I wrote a poem called The Hounds of Hell. And it was really neat. And I just started feeling like, okay, I need to go write, which if you're a writer, you know what I'm talking about, because all of a sudden you go, I've got to write, like you're going to give birth to this creative thing. So I go out on my back deck and sat in this swing on the left side, it was just 2 seats. And I started scribbling on my notebook, and I thought, okay, this is going to be the Hounds of Hell. And my angels, like all of a sudden, as I'm scribbling, I have a soldier sitting next to me. And he gave me some verses, a couple of lines. And then as those couple of lines would finish, then the Marine came in and sat down next to me and gave me a couple more lines.
From their personal experience.
I don't know. I mean, they made me feel these things and they told me what to write. So I wrote, and then it was all branches of service. There was a soldier who sat next to me. There was a sailor who sat next to me. And I know, because I know their uniforms and I know, what they look like. And so the Hounds of Hell is pretty much a universal, can cross no matter what branch of service you were in. It's just American military. And yeah, it was very powerful to experience. There were probably 10 to 15 different veterans who came and sat down next to me, and I wrote, which really sounds strange, but in my world, where I believe in the beauty and wonder and miracle of more than just physical, then it was kind of normal.
Yeah.
But
it was just a Tuesday,
it was just a day. Yeah, it was just a day. But welcome to the life of Camille.
Yes. But then that piece went on to, hit the eyes and ears of several people. So in what ways has your poem been shared?
Well, that year, whenever this was, Memorial Day weekend, it was read on the air in Washington, D.C., by the voice of the Redskins, which they're no longer the Redskins. They renamed themselves. But the announcer, actually, he was a radio personality. But one of my veterans, the one Rick, who was with my dad in the same squadron, he knew this gentleman, so he gave my poem to him, and he read it on the air for Memorial Day weekend. And he sent me a cassette recording.
I remember cassettes. They were the coolest. You had to flip them around, to play a new side of it. Oh my gosh. Do you still have that?
I'm sure I do somewhere.
Yeah.
But I don't have a cassette.
So neat.
To change that media over.
Yeah. And we're still figuring out this whole side of it.
Yeah. So, and then that same weekend, this is back when Rolling Thunder was still a thing in DC. Rick actually had the poem read at the beginning of Rolling Thunder. And he said, I can't even hardly talk about it without getting goosebumps and teary, because that there's just thousands of veterans on their bikes and people who love and support our military. And so Rick had this poem read at the beginning, like broadcast, loudspeakers or whatever. And he said that everybody was screaming.
Yeah. They probably got excited and juiced to ride the bike, and emotional, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And so one of the things that I was asked is, like, how could you possibly know this? Because you've never been to war. But I can tell you that my angels who sat next to me knew all about war and the ugly pain that comes from that. So
I wonder what internally brought you to write about that, because you had the urge to write and to get your thoughts on paper, but for it to be all these branches to talk to you about their experience in a couple verses, and they kept flowing through. I wonder if there was a sentiment that, like, some more voices need to be heard about why we do what we do for our country. And then they found an outlet, a positive outlet to spread that. Someone, it's like, I don't know why we're being drawn to her, but it's her. We know it's her.
So very exciting. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe because they knew all along I was destined to be a military medium.
Yeah.
So
I wanted to ask you, so when you perform readings and when you are opening yourself to talk to these individuals that have passed, has anybody in the military been either one kind of apprehensive or nervous to talk to you, like they're harder to come through, or has it been the opposite where they feel, extra vulnerable because they know they can trust you? Have you had kind of a mix of that?
Our friends that have passed into the spirit world?
Yes.
Crossed into spirit. There no hesitancy whatsoever. Okay. Does that answer?
It does. I think there's a cliche that, they're gonna build a wall, straight face. I'm not gonna open myself. There's a cliche that these people are tough, right? So I wondered if there was resistance.
And they are. These men and women they are tough. They are rough. They are warriors. They are, by God, these people have laid down their lives, and that's no joke, I'm trying to keep it clean here, you guys. I mean, so there are, they're not softies, except, some of them on the inside, like my bear, but we'll talk about bear in a little bit. But it's not just a perception. It is that these people are just badass.
Yeah. But they also, they have loved ones. They have some of the biggest hearts, right? So I'm sure it's been just amazing for their family that's still on earth to be able to connect with them.
I think so. I think it's very healing. And, I work with veterans and active duty and all ages, and it doesn't matter, but, not everybody has traumatic experiences, but grief is universal. I say that all the time. And everybody says that. It's something that we will all feel. And to know that, this big bear of a guy, is coming through and saying, hey, I'm okay. This may have happened, but I'm here, and letting, their buddies, who are sitting in front of me, literally, physically, letting them know that, hey, we are protecting you and your family. And to be able to talk to veterans who have survivor's guilt and who have had experiences where they said, why did I not go out there that day? Because if I'd have gone out there that day, I would have been in that seat, in that tank, not him. And he's the one that went. And so I think it ministers to both, the spirit world, and the spirit world is just, it's just angels. It's just beautiful.
Yeah.
But I think it ministers to them and it ministers to us that are here, physical world. And to be able to tell somebody, exactly how, like to tell a veteran, I see how your buddy died. And I've seen, these are not fun, lighthearted, happy-go-lucky sessions. But if you're going to walk through hell with these memories that you have, with this trauma that you have, then by God, the least I can do is friggin' walk through hell with you.
That's got cold chills.
So that's what I do. That's, if I can, for one young veteran, I brought through 4 of his buddies. And I was able to give him evidence, clear-cut evidence with each of these guys. And I think that any of the demons inside that you're wrestling with over losing people, in very dramatic, traumatic ways, really leaves just devastation in your heart. And to be able to say, hey, this, like bringing up jokes, like they literally brought up jokes, that because it was the first time I'd ever met this one guy. I had no way of knowing. And for them to acknowledge how far he's come. And they even told me his rank. And I had no idea. I really had no idea. But I think because of this lifetime of being around military, I'm able to say, oh, you were an E5, like I know what that is. And so, things I would absolutely have no way of knowing, but I think it helps heal some part of that sadness, that trauma. Because there is trauma in loss and, grief, loss. So but it's amazing. And so with this guy that I'm talking about right now, so I did a painting, I did an angel painting for him. And I did these 4 figures, and I did them to look like they were in utilities or camouflage.
Okay.
For you civilians.
I was going to ask a follow-up on that one.
What are utilities?
Utilities.
The Marine Corps has the best utilities, but I'm just partial.
I'm a little biased, as you should be.
So I did these 4 figures that were just right. And then I thought, okay, I need to do water below. And one of the friends had, he crossed himself over and he jumped off a cruise ship. So, I go, Spirit, please don't make me put water, and I was like, oh no, I don't want to, I'm trying to keep this beautiful. And I just heard, put the water in. And I'm like, oh, are you sure? Like as if, I'm smarter than Spirit.
Yeah.
So yes. So finally I said, okay, I put in the water, and then I heard, but blue skies above. And I'm like, okay, sure. Good. I want the promise of blue skies above. And then I heard tattoo, and I start laughing. And if you know me, I can't draw.
Okay. I disagree completely. You'll see in a room tour that she's completely being humble.
I can't draw though. I cannot draw. So now I'm having another argument with Spirit, and I'm like, I can't draw. they said, draw a tattoo. And I'm like,
Like, it doesn't have to, they're probably like, it doesn't have to be perfect. We just need this in there.
draw this tattoo. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I go, draw the tattoo. And I'm like, okay, fine. So I got my little pen and I'm like, but you're going to have to show me you're going to have to show me how to do this because I have no idea how to do this. So they show me this weird thorny looking thing. And I go, I don't even know if I'm doing this right, but it just felt like this. And I'm like, okay, fine. And I put it in the corner because I was really embarrassed about how bad I tried. I'm like, I can't draw tattoos. It sucks. But
now we've learned to not question spirit.
Yeah. So listen to that little voice, you guys, because they're never wrong. So I print off the painting and I go to take it to this veteran. And I show my son and my husband before I go. I said, well, this is what I'm doing. And these are the 4 buddies. And they're like, and this is individually, because I did not show them together.
Okay.
So one says, what are you talking about? Those are mountains. And then I showed and I was like, no, they're not. They're guys in utilities. Okay. They're in camo. So then I show the other one. And then he goes, those are mountains. And I go, okay, they're mountains. Fine. These are not 4 guys, right? So I take the painting over to the veteran and I said, here you go. And I said, I said, here's your painting and this is what it means. And I said, and here's your four buds, you're the guys. And I said, strangest, and he goes, oh yeah, I can see this. I can totally see it. And I said, well, the strangest thing is I said, both my husband and my son said, those are mountains. So now he looks at the painting and he goes, oh my God. And he goes, I know exactly where this is. And I said, what? And I go, what do you mean where this is? And he said, and I don't know, I haven't researched it. So I trust that what he said. So he said, Iraq is flat, except for where we were stationed. And he said there were mountains on one side and mountains on the other. And I said, okay, so what's with the water? Because I had to paint the water. And he goes, oh my God, Camille. He said, that's where we were stationed. He said, we were stationed where the Tigris and the Euphrates come together. And I go, oh my God, are you kidding me? I'm so sorry.
This is making sense.
I almost didn't want to put in the water.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And I'm like, so, and then remind me to go back to the Marine after this. Okay. So I said, wow, I said, that's crazy. And then I said, okay, so who has the tattoos? And he goes, well, I have, Oh, and I go, oh God. So I said, well, what is this? And I pointed to my little scratchy thing in the corner that I tried to. Yeah. And he goes, holy crap, cleaned it up for you. And he pulls off his hoodie. And then he pulls up his t-shirt sleeve. And right there is this tattoo. And it goes like this. Is it barbed wire? It looks like barbed wire. Okay. But I don't think it's barbed wire. And I think it's a tattoo that like he and his friends got together or something. There was meaning to it. I don't remember all about it. I just looked at it and I was like, that's it. I'm sorry. I will never question you again. So yeah, totally crazy. I've got a picture that I've posted on Instagram. I can post it again. Because I was like, dude, I've got to get a picture of your tattoo so I can put it with the painting. And that was crazy. It's winter. I mean, he had hoodie on, even when I had met with him and read him. The fact that he
knew right away because you were so unsure and you hid it in a place because you're like, I don't know that this is gonna mean anything. Maybe it will later, but he knew right away what that was.
Yeah, he knew right away.
So then his buddies, the other people, the other guys in utilities, were those some people that had the same tattoos?
I don't remember the whole story. If I feel like there was something that they all did together, but it had meaning, and I mean, whatever, and clearly, even if the soldiers on the other side didn't get the tattoo, they knew of it, and I had no idea. So that's one of the things that I always try to drive for, is the evidence of that. So now, fast forward, oh my gosh, I don't know, 4 years maybe. And so a Marine wife contacts me, and she wants to schedule a session for her husband. Her husband's Marine Corps, he's Special Forces. So I said, sure, that's wonderful, that's fine. And he's just hesitating, and okay, we get that, I get it. And what she does is, so she shows him that picture, because I have it posted on my social media. She shows him the picture, and he looked at it and he goes,